This is a tutorial on how to make a light bulb in Blender. Shift A and I get a cylinder, and basically I am firstly gonna make the bulb holder. So I'm just gonna add some loop cuts to my cylinder. I'm gonna go to wireframe. I'm gonna go to faces, and I'll just need to select the relevant area and scale to just make it slightly smaller. So essentially I'm just trying to create this shape for my bulb. I then go, move it down as well. I can use S to scale those edges too. So as you can see, I'm just making the shape of my bulb holder. I then go on object mode, and as you can see, I have basically created my bulb holder. I'm gonna mesh and get a UV sphere, and now I'm gonna actually create my bulb. So as you can see, I'm just resizing it. I H for hide, hiding that bulb holder so I can only focus on the sphere. I go back into edit mode, go onto the wireframe. I select the bottom section and I move that down and scale it a bit smaller. I then just keep doing that until I get my preferred shape of my bulb. I'm gonna make sure the render engine is on cycle and I turn on denoise. And basically with this bulb, I will need to create a glass effect. So I'm gonna split my area vertically. And then I'm gonna click onto shade editor, and this is where I essentially create my glass effect. So I delete that principal BSDF, however you say that. I'm going to add a mix shader, a glossy BSDF, I'm going to add refraction BSDF, and I'm gonna add a Fresnet. And after this, we're gonna essentially need to plug these into the correct places. So I'm gonna plug everything into my mix shader. now we have essentially created that glass effect, and we could make the roughness a little bit less for the bulb, but essentially we have the effect that we need. I'm basically then just turning this around. The reason I'm turning it around is because the way I want my lamp or my lights to be is I want it to be upside down. So therefore I rotate it on the X axis to get that effect. So now I go to Shift A and I get a mesh. I accidentally got a plane, but we need a UV sphere. And now we're gonna essentially create the light inside our light bulb. So I'm just gonna be resizing the sphere and making it slightly smaller. I'm also going to add a color to the sphere. So I'm just gonna be making it like some sort of yellowish color. It can depend on what kind of color lights you want in your room. I'm then gonna go to compositing and I'm going to add a glare. Well, before I add a glare, I do need to add new on the top. So yeah, you can see that you click on add new at the top. I'm then going to add my glare. I'm just gonna add that in the middle and plug it in. And I change it to bloom. I'm gonna go to the viewport at the top and change that to always. And then I'm just gonna up the strength. And this basically just creates our light. And I'm just gonna move that into the center of the light bulb. And we're just going to position that how we wish. Once we have done our light bulb, I'm basically trying to create like a lamp. So I'm gonna get a new mesh sapphire and I'm just gonna resize that and make that much bigger. And I want the bulb to be directly, in the center of this lamp that we are creating. It's gonna be one that sort of dangles down. So I'm going into edit mode, go onto the wireframe, and I just want to delete that bottom section of faces, and that creates like a nice shape for our lamp. I'm also going to delete that little section at the top as well, which is going to essentially hang on the ceiling. I then add a glass texture using BlendKit, which is a plugin. So as you can see, I was kind of just experimenting with different type of glass, but in the end I went with just sort of like a normal shade of glass essentially. Once I did that as well, I resized it to make sure it's perfect around the bulb. I then, yes, as you can see, I'm just sort of adjusting the light so it's perfect. And once that's completed, I'm just going to be adding another cylinder, and this is for essentially the ceiling or where the lights are going to hang from. So I just scale that a bit wider and longer and place that accordingly on top of our light or the lamp that we just created. And that is pretty much it.